Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you a little bit about the transit of Neptune through the sign of Aries that has already started on the 30th of March. And it's going to finish in 2039. So it's going to be a very, very long process. It takes ages for Neptune to make it through a star sign. So here we have it in a very auspicious place for us. And I'm going to go through all the signs here as well. So the main grid here is that people are going to start to feel more faithful and more cultured in who they are and what they've got. It's going to be a very practical design as to what some people really want to do, because also Neptune started with a conjunction to Saturn. And he was with Saturn pretty close in Pisces, and now that he's not, he's going to be very, very strong and very smart about what is and what isn't real. And of course, the fiery sign of Aries is going to feed us this emotion. It's like, so what am I going to do at the end of the day? Where am I going to be? So definitely there is a very practical, result-seeking and very certain way that some individuals are going to be dealing with their lifetime. So from now on, there's going to be a very strong and certain sense of self. Sometimes things are very much about addiction and conformity. In certain situations, people don't want to let go of their blankies. And that also shows. So I do regret to say that in certain societies and in certain way of life, there's going to be a definite human grid. And in some situations, it's going to be really hard to swallow. So for example, in certain parts of humanity, there's going to be a financial class system based grid. And in some situations, it's going to be different types of camps and gatherings of people. And the one thing that you want to basically know and be aware of during these times is that you have to make it very clear that which you want and what you really believe as an individual, because if you actually have an individual base of soul, and if you are not easily conformed or addicted to anything outside of who you are, you can actually really do very well. So it is very much about the blessed individual that does understand who they are and does need to do things the way that they would need to do them. It is a really starstruck time for certain individuals, and for real, if you have a backbone, if you have your own process, if you're living off the grid, if you have your own company or your own way of life, it is a very unique time. Also, we do have Pluto in Aquarius for this transit, and in some sense it is going to really become obvious who is the individual and what it really means to be a survivor, what it really means to be a human being, and how would one go about dealing with the day-to-day life and daily results. So in certain cases and scenarios, it doesn't really mean that you have to be an outstanding human, but it is just about having your own individuality at your heart and having a real-time phenomenalized, maybe even result. It is really good to be faithful and to be trusted. The body is something that we need to really talk about during this time, because Aries does naturally rule the physical human form. So for a lot of us, it's going to be a no-brainer in terms of how things work, because we are so already conjoined and designed well as bodies. So some people have been into fitness and some people have been into training. Certain individuals have just designed a better life around their physical form and respected and accepted themselves exceptionally well. So you can already kind of tell if a human being is naturally kind of built for this time, because they have neurologically and psychologically and emotionally connected to their body and the physical day-to-day life. So in some situations, it isn't actually about the physical, it is about what you're gonna be in front of people. Sometimes people want to see something exciting come out during this time. They like different hair colors, they like tattoos, they like modification of the body, because they're looking for something interesting. And of course you can tell that people are not going to go the right way if they're constantly looking for something for show that doesn't actually have any physical knowledge of itself. So be very careful of corruption that could happen, because with this Neptune being in Aries, people would want to somehow abbreviate a process. So instead of working out, they'll get injectables instead of going somewhere and actually making change or making sense of things and being the truth teller in their story, or being the real concept creator for themselves and their family tree. They're going to just become one of those people that could easily want a cheap and crazy result. Also, we are in this time of snake, and Neptune is still going to go back and forth between Pisces and Aries, and what we're basically going to have is people sort of dawdling about. But this is a very exciting time for me, because this is a time of miracles. Pisces is the end of the zodiac and Aries is the beginning. the past and the future are together here in this crux point of the global ascendant. And what I'm also seeing here is that we are here trying to rebirth and redo things. In some cases we are waiting for miracles. In certain cases there are going to be unrequited miracles or unexpressed miracles, that we're not ever going to see the end of a certain story. But in some situations, in some programs, they're going to be very awesome and very up-to-date, upfront people coming through. And you know when a person is ready for Aries Neptune is because simply they got it together, they've already done the work, they've already figured everything out, and they have a very good sense about themselves and who they are and what it takes, or what it took always to be in this world. So I'm definitely sensing that there's going to be a very big need for upfront and very intelligent, financially, physically, emotionally, mentally intelligent people that are going to have to come to the front, and they're going to have to rule. So also the question of the king and the mini king, you know, the influencer or the person that has maybe a house, and within that house they're housing several families. So there is a feeling of separation and divide into smaller countries and groups. There is a feeling of being unquestionable leaders, and maybe there's only 30 or 40 souls under the name of a certain person, but they're taking care of them. So we do have kings and queens, and we have little villages and little towns come out because of all of this. And there's going to be a completely different result, and a different type of regret also that I feel we're facing as individuals and as a society, in terms of how once things were. And I already talked a little bit about this during the Pluto videos, in terms of there being a revivalist streak sorry, and certain individuals wanting to go forward with new and sometimes slightly crazy ideas about what it once was to be alive on this planet, and then, you know, coming back to like drinking raw milk, you know, whole milk, and also, for example, growing your own vegetables and such. So there's definitely going to be a question of what is worthy and what can't be worthwhile anymore. And there is going to be definitely a giant classes divide seen in the cities. And there's going to be also a very big divide in commitments and what one is and what one is not worth. So the worth of a story, the worth of a soul, or the worth of a country, or any kind of human or person is going to be really much in control or under control of the mass, you know. So there's going to be a question, what is this person worth or not? So also legislation, governmental systems, law and order may go through quite a big change during this time as to what is the worth of a life, what is the best way to act, or what is the way to also discipline or teach people how to live better if they have gone off the beaten track. So there is a question, a bit of confusion between the non-individualistic approach, which is the yay saying, and I suppose the, how can I say, the way that people would class themselves together in a grid versus the real true individual. So there is like a big question, I suppose, in terms of whether or not you do not desire required to fit with other people. And, you know, the whole barcode mentality, that's going to really come through here very deeply, whether or not you feel nervous or not nervous in front of people. And, you know, there is a question of public surveillance, and also, I suppose, any kind of relationship that you have to anything being sort of shaven back or sort of undoubtedly fixed by the collective all. So there is policing, surveillance, and things like that that is going to happen. It's already kind of happening, but it's going to go to a be-all, end-all edge. And there's going to be a question of true wisdom, power, and individual, like humanitarian needs, but it's going to be like more of a question of who am I, you know, what am I worth, what are my efforts worth, you know, what am I doing here, like on this planet, or where am I actually from? So there's going to be a lot of question marks. And what I basically do already, I've already prepared for this time a little bit, is like do the best you can do and try to stick to the basics, because if you go very extra during this time, you may not be able to handle what this time may be potentially dishing you. So let's have a look at what we have for every sign, and I will put this also into shorts. So firstly, of course, let's talk about Aries. Aries is now native with Neptune there. Aries doesn't like it there, but okay. So you may have a very viral presence. So if you're an Aries, you will naturally have a lot of cause and effect with other people. Maybe by some mistake you've done something already to deserve a great big deal of ovation or applause. Maybe certain regularity is off the charts. Maybe you're now saying, well, why don't I do this or that? I can afford actually this and that. So Aries is doing things that are a little bit out of the midst of people that you're from. So there is an individualistic approach, or there is a lot of ego that is rising up for certain Aries people, and they can do things just right. And in some instances, in certain cases, there will be an Aries that is 1 in a million, and they will do some stuff that we never thought was appropriate or approachable, or we didn't know was available. So Aries is definitely the leader, but they also are kind of viral in the way that they're infecting other people's minds and thoughts in terms of what is now available or possible. So I'm seeing quite a lot of Aries people being exceptionally good at what they're doing and who they are, but at the same time, like, the question is, oh, did you want to really command such a large percentage of the populace, or did you want to have so many deep changes in your life? And yeah, there is also a question of humiliation, doing too much too soon, getting ready for things and not doing them. So there is a question of also being a little bit of a fool, and if you can handle these positions of primordial wealth or primordial force and focus, you know. So not everybody's like this, but certain Aries people that are exceptionally well put together may actually now have a lot at their command, and it is just whether or not you would like to be this type of commander or master, or this kind of priest, or like the mover of other people, which is what Neptune would naturally give to you. For Taurus, Taurus is, you know, you don't have to really worry now about what people say. So the association to other people has fallen off. So it is very easy to actually naturally intimidate a Taurus into what other people want and what other people think and say. Taurus has Gemini after itself, so for sure it is intimidating what people are thinking about you. And also with Neptune going for your 11th house in Pisces, it was probably a very difficult time to admit what you wanted and what you cared and what you know, had to do, what you were after. So basically what I would like to give is full respect to Taurus, because you've outlasted some people, you've been in a story longer than other people have predicted, you've done the good thing, and of course Uranus and Jupiter in recent years in your sign have really done the best to master you. But now here it is, you have your 12th house illuminated with Neptune, or I would say dimmed with Neptune. What you now have to do is mind your own business, mind your step, don't get involved, don't get excited, and also don't get lucky at once, meaning sometimes it's too good to be true. Here, you know, here is something for free, here is something, you know, for the greater good of all people. Here, try this particular chemical, here, try this particular medicine. So don't make the mistake. The best idea, I feel, for all of us with Taurus aspects is to get real and make it very clear that we are quickly walking away from anything that is trying to get our attention for too long and trying to intimidate us or make us into something that we're not to be. So just be very careful. It is dainty business. Don't just read the fine print, because sometimes the fine print is wrong. Just be very careful into which trap you may be walking. And also, if you are not one of those people that is likely to do that, just be very also kind and careful with your words and thoughts and feelings, because they are very mega during this time. So your 12th house, which is Aries, is very diluted by Neptune. So be careful about what you think, feel, and say, and just hold yourself together, hold yourself up to your actions and words. And then we have, of course, Gemini. Gemini likes to be very interesting and very interested in people during this time. This is your 11th house stimulation station, because this is Aries. And of course, you may not want to do it all at once, but I'm seeing certain Geminis really like to do things at a drop of a hat. They want to be awesome. They want to be slightly extraterrestrial. There is a very unique niche or curious ambition that you may already start to have during this time. You want to be a little bit away from other people, a little bit more reflective, a little bit more calm, a little bit outside of the common status quo. So there is a lot to do with fashion and personality presentation and whether or not you have the latest goods and gadgets. And in certain cases, some Geminis may not actually have it all together, but they see other people as competition during this time. It's the 11th house, of course, with Aries. They may have very competitive past, and that can return masculine, for example, wanting to compete in a field that you have previously spent your time in. For instance, you used to be a kickboxer and now you're in your 40s and you still want to be a kickboxer again, or you want to do something that your ancestors have done to show up, to show them, to be somebody who stands out and somebody who's very eloquent and very interesting, and sometimes also intensely arrogant. And that means to me that certain Geminis are going to get it very strangely, very badly during this time. Be very careful, because although we're beginning this transit with Jupiter being in your sign, you can also actually very easily take a tumble. So even though you feel like you are the one and you have no regrets, especially at the beginning of this transit, and you may believe for the rest of your life that you are somebody else, just be very, very mentally prepared, because things are going to go off for somebody else. Maybe you're bringing joy and connection to other people, but you're not actually receiving the benefits. So be careful. For example, you're spending a lot of time and money, but it's actually other people that are benefiting. So a little bit of a foolish, genuine, but also very juvenile Gemini, JJJ, could actually be a little bit too much to handle for certain individuals. So make sure that you are not confusing anybody, and that you are not roughing and tumbling with anybody, and that you don't argue, especially when it comes to your family tree, it comes to your root system and your livelihood. So you're not walking out of good jobs for the sake of something crazy. So you're not walking out of good people for the sake of just being different and awesome. So just hold yourself back from any kind of stunning and excellent results, which other people may actually not see or not seem to know anything about. So a little bit of an extraterrestrial feeling for Geminis during this Neptune in your 11th house. So for Cancers really have a lot to do with Neptune naturally, because they're a water sign. They understand it very well. But here in the fellow cardinal sign, it doesn't really matter to you. It is in the 10th house. Now you see, not really necessarily immune, but there's some Cancers that don't really understand what this energy is saying, or what it is seeing in them, or how. So sometimes Cancers will have a very stroppy and very educated conversation during this time. They will bring people down, they will bring people up and say whatever, and they'll wave their hand away. And they don't necessarily want people's involvements the same as people thought. They don't have the same charisma, though, also as well. Maybe they don't have the same skills as they thought. But at the same time, I'm seeing cool, calm and collected, super appropriate Cancer that doesn't actually care. So in a way, in your 10th house, Neptune is looking pretty good, and it is making you feel a little bit less aroused and less interested in certain things. Maybe some topics have diluted themselves. You don't have to care so much for certain people that you had in your heart a lot. So people could have also left your territory. Maybe some family or friends have decided to go off on their own, or people have come in, but you actually have no true reason to worry, because things are organizing and gathering around you. So I'm actually feeling that although it doesn't look likely, it is going to start organizing itself. So previous years you had to push, you had to ask, you had to manage, you had to tell people off, and had to do a lot of work on yourself. You had to sort of look over your finances and ask what is going on. But here we have actually a very unconfused and sophisticated Cancer that can actually do it all at once. So I'm liking how you see right through people during this time. You can make sense of almost anything and everything, but you can also be sometimes cruel and unjust. So just make sure that during this 10th house illumination of Neptune going through Aries, you don't get excited or addicted to a certain state of power, which may not actually bring you forward. It could also take you back. So have a look also as to how come you are doing that which you are, because some of the time it is just a display, it is just a comment. It's like, yes, I can afford this house, or yes, I can have as many friends as I want. So I'm seeing also certain Cancers just doing things just because, and making sure that people understand them. So sometimes when it comes to money, power, status, and also certain information, Cancer could be actually not the best looking friend or the goodest person in the world at the end of the day. So just make it very clear that if you have any snobby and dismissive personality traits that are starting to get back at people that used to treat you unkindly, and starting to put them in their place, that you don't overuse it, because some of the time it could be also very unsightly. So let's have a look at Leo. Leo, don't have to worry about this. Okay, so this is very difficult for you. This is your 9th house illumination. Now you don't have to do it all at once. Aries is taking up your 9th house. Okay, sometimes things are a figure of speech. You hear people, you say hello, thank you, like don't take it all in, don't take it all in as a real thing. So sometimes people may tell you certain things, and if you are exceptionally gentle and naive person, you may actually trust them more than you can. So please don't trust anything during this time. This is your 9th house illumination, but what this is very good for is this power and empowerment. Yes, I can go anywhere I like. Yes, I can just pack up my bag and leave if I want. Yes, I can spend this money here or buy a house over there. So definitely there is some stretch and some extra motion. Just don't get caught. So certain Leos could easily be surveilled, caught, and promised things that are not going to be delivered. Also, in certain cases, Leos don't really have the energy or the time on a project, but they will actually do it because everybody else commits to them. So some of the time you'll be roped into some very atrocious situations, like staying at a house where you don't have to be, spending your time or energy, or this exceptional velocity as Neptune is in the 9th house, extending you and almost like making you more rubbery and more able, more ample. But basically what I've done through a similar transit, you got to just basically rest and leave it alone. Though everything is kind of fooling you and it also wants to be on board, just make sure that when it gets too close, you got something else, something better to do. So you can kind of be a great escape artist during this time. You can also be literally untraceable. You can always be protected by something or somebody. You can have no burdens. So for certain Leos, definitely there is a conversation of having a trust fund, having monetary things cover things, also your parents or certain trust funds being able to take care of it. Maybe it is a husband or wife or somebody that can basically block the flow of negativity and energy that you don't need. It is like having a private house or private account. So in certain situations you will not want to do that, which everybody else wants you. Contamination is really high on the rise during this time. It's easy to be contaminated. So I'm talking about illnesses and diseases, but I'm also talking about other people's thoughts and feelings and about how another person may speak to you or say something to you. So it's also very easy for a Leo, of course, to come of age very quickly during this time. Aging is very easy during this time and feel like you haven't done anything or something that you are doing is not appropriate. So be very careful that you are not walking into any kind of martyrdom during this time and you're taking this full capacity of energy that Neptune will be delivering you during Aries illumination, and you will just do as you might like. Just do as you like basically during this time. Then we do have Virgo. Virgo doesn't really have a lot to teach, doesn't have to go through that much, but the 8th house illumination of Neptune and Aries really makes you feel so good about some things. Like, I really want to participate, I want to go, I want to pack up. So this is where Virgo sometimes makes a very funny choice of, for example, escaping, going to another country, seeing a guru, going to India, becoming one of those very interesting and unique, altruistic, enthusiastic people. So whether or not you want it, you will have a certain need, an emotional creed, or a very deep serenity with something or somebody that actually is not necessarily that lucky for you. So you will not necessarily reach enlightenment if you go see this guru. You will not necessarily reach the end point or the result if you go here or there, if you want to go too far. So this is just a very quick hookup for you guys. If you want to keep things clean and proud, just do it on the inside. It's an inside job a lot of the time, and try not to be so innocent, because sometimes people are cooking things up that you don't even want to know. So this is your 8th house illumination. You may really want to give away your power uniquely. You may want someone else to rule you and control you. You may want to trust somebody who's way higher than you and somehow very abundant. So make it very clear that for you and for all of us also in the picture, because you're highly influential and highly undoubtedly like viral or emotional for other people, that you're not actually doing anything that you shouldn't be doing during this time, and that you're definitely not pushing or confusing people with a certain type of religious, emotional, or somehow impractical ideal, which actually doesn't have to do anything with you or other people in the game. So you could easily, for example, give your child or your significant other materials to study that they don't have to study, or you can be of worth somewhere where you shouldn't be of worth. You can do a lot of things that basically don't matter. So make it very clear, Virgos, please, that you're not tired also of all of this, because this is really hard. This is really hard for me. This is really hard for you. A lot of people are not really switched on. It is very, very difficult if you also don't want to do that which you're meant to do. So make it very clear, you guys, that you are doing whatever you can do to make things very practical and easy and simple and clear and clean, and that you are within a certain grid or boundary. And I'm not telling you to necessarily be afraid, but just make sure that you're protected and also that you're protecting other people from spillage, from an awful lot of emotions or memories coming up to the surface that don't actually need to be there. So just make sure that things are bound, neat and simple. So at the end of the day, you also won't have what you wanted if you are not within reason or proportion. So keep proportional, Virgo, please, and try to get excited as well. This is a very interesting, unusual, unique and storytelling time. Just you don't need to be in that. Okay, so next one is Libra. Libra, you don't have to do a lot for other people. This is your 7th house illumination. And Aries, you don't have to barter so much. You don't have to buy them stuff. You don't have to look them in the face, and you definitely don't have to be here. There is a very big purpose though there for you. Any kind of interaction, any kind of partnerships or friendship could actually be very vulnerable for you. You can actually make a lot of money next to another person. You can have another person promote or market you. In some cases, Libras do not necessarily need it, but if they did affiliate with certain individuals, they could do a lot better. But you could also get completely burdened and also pushed back. For example, a career move that takes you places, but at the same time, at the end of the day, you don't have any willpower or any rights. So make sure that you dilute this, take everything with a pinch of salt, try to laugh it off, try to be cool, calm and collected, and do not buy anything, meaning do not think this is real. Do not trust it. Sometimes also what people promise or what they plan for you is not necessarily correct. So if you are also burdened or bombarded by other people's success and other people's achievements and what they would like with you, and also if there is a husband or a wife or significant other that really wants you to do things their way, try to time it so that you are slow. Try to be slow with people. If you can sit in the same room for several hours and they don't get sick of you, that's probably a pretty good sign. But if they get sick of you and you try very hard to get to know each other, also if you have a lot of sexual, emotional, or sort of depressing action or toxicity in your relationships and friendships, and if it gets really complicated very quick, just get out of there because it's not meant for you. If you can be simple together and if you can share a space for several hours and be calm and gentle together, this means that there is something natural there for you. And if you're not natural in the story, you'll have to provide. You have to be obsessed with this person. You have to be auspicious. You have to do everything. So just try to make cooler moves. Try to be strict on your wallet. Make sure that you're not spending on a husband and wife money that you'll never get back. Make sure that you're not possessing somebody else, with time or energy or sensuality or anything, that you're not trying to dance a dance in front of someone that will not ever be able to answer you. Make it very clear that if you're interacting, that there should be a nice, calm, sensitive and very obvious result and design, and that which you're doing together, so that it makes sense, that you're not asking what happened to me after a certain situation, which may happen. And yes, there are lots of burdens coming off, and a lot of them are blindness and lack of intelligence or lack of realization. So make it very clear that you're not one of those burdened Libras during this time. Scorpio does not like Neptune and Aries. He does not like it. Although, people say Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, but he was previously ruled by Mars, and Aries is ruled by Mars, so they should be kind of friends, right? Well, it's all over the place, and you could say, yeah, sure, but it's a water sign and I would like Neptune. Well, no, this is just not how it works in astrology for some reason. So this is your 6th house. You don't care for it, you don't like it. People are talking, you're rolling your eyes. There's nothing you can do. Sometimes people are annoying, you don't like the smell, you don't like the feeling, but you are always at hello. So people like you. It's actually very unique and very beautiful to find a Scorpio during this time. It's very exciting for you to be there. People like what you've managed and what you've developed in the last several years. So maybe they like your style, they like your clothes, they like how you are looking, what you're cooking and everything. So your indigenous background, anything about your past, and also just what you have been up to in the last several years have all come together. So I'm feeling like there is a very nice cooked and very compressed and very deep version of Scorpio coming out during this time, but you just don't like other people. So you're actually doing very well. I'm seeing a very polite and very restructured, very well put together and concentrated Scorpio by the beginning of this transit. And I'm also feeling that everybody else just starts cooking and doing around you, and sometimes they try to appease you, they try to laugh the same as you, they try to laugh at your jokes, they try to imitate how you look, they try to look good to you, and they try to be so nice. So try not to be there, basically. Either way, it's very, very hard and uncomfortable for you if you don't like somebody, but you have to spend a lot of time with them. It is really, really dark for Scorpio if you figured out that you've lost your passion or your interest in your lover or in your job or in your place in the world. It's very hard for us all with Scorpio anything to know that we are tired and we're done, but you kind of have to still be nice. good looking, well dressed, well presented. Try to carry this on, because some of the time you are the scapegoat, or you're like that person that we don't trust or love very much, and suddenly you are loved, but you don't actually love anybody else around you. You don't really feel the same concept. So before was the other way around. Maybe you were trying so very hard to align, and maybe you were even lying about who you were and how you were feeling, and you maybe really made a lot of friends, and just, you know, like you really wanted to be a good person to someone else, and you really felt like you wanted to squeeze into a community or a situation, and now you basically aren't, and you're not lying anymore. But this is really difficult, because everybody's like a little sheep in comparison to the Grand Master Scorpio. So where you might want to go and where you want to show up is your choice, but I would definitely tell you, do not make it a big deal that you have come to a certain place, but do not make it not a big deal. Try to know how to work with power and significance, and make sure that you don't implant anybody's brain with anything you don't have to say, because you have like a lot of energy, and maybe your house is a fortress, or your career is going very well, your body's become incredibly healed, or you just know a lot of things that other people don't know. So there's a lot of force and focus. Just make it very clear that you are kind enough to allow other people, like little birdies, to sit with you and have fun with you and hop on the plane with you, or just hang out with you, because this is like very naive time. And make it very kind and clear as to where you want things to be. So this is nice for building development, and it's also really nice to see your family come to a greater state of joy and peace, you know. So it's a very compassionate time. Then we also have Sagittarius. Sagittarius doesn't really like it here. Okay, so this is your 5th house. Uniquely, you don't like it. It annoys you, makes you sad, uncomfortable. Although you think, okay, Neptune going for the 5th house, it shouldn't actually be so bad. You know, this is a fellow fire sign, and Aries shouldn't be so bad, right? Well, it actually is, because Neptune doesn't like you. Neptune naturally does not trust a lot of the ego and the bout of faith, or the bout of happiness that Sagittarius has. And sometimes you'll be shushed. No, don't say that in public, or you can't go there. Don't do this. Like, don't do this again. So sometimes people with, yes, of course, 5th house situation and Aries, and Neptune going through Aries, you may not necessarily be wanted, needed, loved, or cared for in certain parts of society. And just make sure that you understand other people's psychology. What you can do, sit down, take some notes. And yes, there is a little bit of sadness. And now I'm also seeing that some Sagittarians may start to bottle things up. So basically what you want to do is you want to see how far you've come and how far you also don't want to go, or how far you haven't come. And you have to make a very nice and simple joke. Maybe it is like, okay, cool, you guys, I'm just going to like distribute these letters, and that's it. Or like, I'm just gonna be, you know, this guy at the party, and that's it. I'm going to just, you know, go around with my photo camera and take some pictures, and that's it. Like, there's a very nice distribution of energy and will. And what I'm really enjoying about Sagittarians is because they're really smart, and they're kind enough to know exactly where things fit and where they don't fit. And it is nice to see you basically going through several things, several ideas, or several forces, and focusing your energy in a brighter and a more connected, or sometimes more conditional time. It's like, okay, guys, okay, fine, I will not tell the joke. Okay, I won't tell the joke, so don't worry. And what I'm also seeing is that some people will you to be exactly right. Certain people, certain individuals want you to be to a T, and certain significance is given to you now. Look, I want you to do this, or I want you to claim the prize. I want you to jump and shoot. I want you to do that. So be very careful also, like holding back is hard, but sometimes a person will put a tool in your hand, or a gun in your hand, or an idea in your head, and they will want you to do exactly that. So when you are mothered or fathered by another person or body of people, or like something political, where somebody wants you to do something political, make it very clear that you're not going to be there. So make it very clear that you are, you know, back home at a reasonable hour. You don't get into weird fights outside of the house, that you don't also look for power or empowerment from certain other beings and people, that you don't feel that somebody else's thoughts and feelings are correct and yours are not. And you make it very clear and very comfortable as to where you're going to be eventually later on down the track in a while. So make it good. Sometimes sit down, take a pen and paper, think about how things are done in other ways. You know, do you have a way out? And also, can you wake out of a dream? So for example, if you have a freight train of doing, or you have a freight train of making, showing up and doing exactly what people like, make it very clear that you're not going to be that, not right now. So the next one is Capricorn. Capricorn does not like Aries usually, but yeah, okay, Neptune and Aries. Here we have it in your 4th house. This is home and family. You have to relax and just see people as they are. You have to be nice to them. You have to do what they say. Yes, dear, of course, honey, I will take out the trash. Yes, of course, honey. And for whatever reason, you have to keep it down. Maybe you have kids now, maybe you're married, or maybe you have several things happening in the home. This could be also an elderly parent feeling bad, or several people just changing places, changing faces. Maybe you have a dependent wife or husband, or you have several things that you have to do at your job that are to the point of being in a house, meaning you have everybody as your friend, as your best friend, as family. People are calling you for work, and you have to be so nice and so good to them. So anything and everything that stays and that is put in its place, it will need to take some time. Making a home, planning things, working in the garden, anything and everything, it'll take so much time and concentration to do things well. So basically what I'm saying to you is that you need to be fine and okay and not argue, and understand that you will need to be nice. And also on the other side of that, you need some freedoms. So what I really also don't kind of like about this time, but I can understand why a Capricorn would rebel and do some crazy things, is simply because they don't want to be within that reason anymore, and they don't like the reason that Aries Neptune gives. This is why, stay at home, come on, we got kids, come on, let's go. So what I also enjoy is that you kind of have it both. You have the two, and I understand why there were maybe, or there are burdens. This could be family, this could be issues, this could be diseases, this could be questions, this could be markets, this could be changing of worlds. You have to spend more time working, you have to spend more time entertaining people, or you need to kind of be at home with them. So what basically I've done in times like this is you have to make it whole, like understand the whole story. So also fourth house is about putting things together and massaging them like a dough. This is originally a Cancerian house, so basically what you can sometimes provide for yourself and other people is a nice emulsification. Just, okay, cool, you are part of my game, you too, and you too, come on, let's go, okay, let's put this together. What I don't like though is conditions, people shushing each other, and people being very careful with their money, very careful with their words. Also maybe your spouse or your partner doesn't want you doing this, and they only want you doing that. So there's definitely a question in terms of also how far things can be in terms of home, family, and that which is real and that which is grounded and relevant for you today. So it may be very much needed that you have a sneaky secret sometimes, or that you sneak out like just for a smoke, like outside your house. You're like, okay, I just need some time. It is absolutely okay if you sometimes need to also weasel yourself out, and weasel yourself out a lot. So sometimes in extreme cases, Capricorns have separate, illusionary, mysterious, secret lives. And you don't have to necessarily do all of that, but certain people will, because they don't know how to contend with the bossiness. And if you really, really feel like it is hard to control and to be a part of all of those things that are happening in your life, make it very clear that people can understand that. It's like, I don't know how to turn up on time. I don't know how to make this business work for you. I don't know how to take care of my kids any better than I do. So make it very clear that you're getting help as soon as you know that you need it. As soon as you know you're losing concentration, you can't do anything, you know, you're not feeling also very good. And sometimes it could be also about health. If your health is going down, don't just make it like a little getaway. I'm gonna run away and do something else. Just make it very clear that you need to adjust to the coming changes. Then we do have Aquarius. Aquarius is later on going to regret a lot of the things they're saying. So this is your third house illumination. So Neptune's going through Aries in your third house. And what basically we'd like to do, what we'd like to work on here with you guys, is make it very clear and very comfortable that things are what they are, and they don't have to be anything else. Just make it very cool and clear and comfortable that whatever that you are participating in, and whatever that you are with, or whoever you are with, spending time with, is just nice, crystal clear. Do not make an ugly show of things. Sometimes an Aquarius will do something very unrobust and very strange, and it could be very depressing. So yeah, this is the time of making mistakes. And from the Granger, and from the ability to do things so exceptionally well after Saturn's been for your sign and being for Pisces, now you could actually be in a very bad story. So for example, after understanding and logging off from any strangeness and understanding how great and maybe even epic and conservative you are, and having lots of friends and families and even teachers look up to you, you can easily go completely backwards and go into the dumps, and very much easily. An Aquarius could be nobody at a drop of a hat. So make it very clear that you're not doing this. And if you are pleasing people, if you're working with numbers, if you are conservative, if you're working in a banking system or with law or anything, if you are a high quality representative and you have a lot of burdens and a lot to worry about, that you don't just leave it to the last minute. You got to make sure that you're organized and that you can stand up straight at the end of the day. Even if you want to go have a drink, make sure that you wake up in the morning and you're sparkly new and you're doing exactly what you need to do. So you need to get back to yourself And of course, sometimes there is pain and sometimes there are vices for Aquarians during this time, of course, and there's a feeling of wanting to accept vices from people and having people as a vice or being a vice for a friend, but try not to go into that dark, strange and melancholic territory. Try to make it very clear that you're crisp and you're doing something very young, very certain, very deep. You know, you are algorithmic now. You know, you can retain what you have learned in the last several months and make it very true and very conscious that you are not going to repeat disheveled patterns again. So during this time, basically the whole transit, you need to be very good at that which you're doing, and you have to make it very clear that you are doing it for the right reason and that you're really good at it and that you're efficient and you're official, and then other people are going to have to understand you. And sometimes it is very easy to get into a reputable career or to have a very reputable result. And sometimes also during this time you could have a very clear and very obvious picture with your children or your family tree. Maybe some things are going forward, and things that also have not been able to go forward will go forward. Yes, you can get rid of hereditary disease and different types of issues if you stay sturdy on your feet and if you make sure that illusion doesn't get the best of you. Okay, so next is Pisces, of course, and this is your second house illumination. This is the last one, don't worry, it's already 39 minutes along. So for Pisces, of course, this transit doesn't really have a lot to do with you now because you've already done Neptune, and Neptune is a piece of cake for you. But at the same time, second house illumination in Aries doesn't really make you feel very good about yourself. So it's very easy for certain Piscean people not to feel very good about what they've done, not to feel very crystal clear about their home and, you know, their issues and the genetics and, you know, how they've been handling their life. So the martyrdom returns, you know, so you maybe haven't had it for a very long time. Maybe you didn't really care as to how people saw you, and eventually we saw a very enlightened, very happy-go-lucky and very up-to-date version of Pisces, even to the point where our eyes were burning with the light of your soul and the amazing potential that Pisces would bring. But at the same time, during this particular time, with Aries being the host of Neptune, you don't actually have anything else but to worry. Maybe you have to write, maybe you have to scheme, maybe you have to think, maybe sometimes during this time you have to go through quite a lot of work and quite a lot of messes to understand where things are. So try not to be too abrupt with other people because they could actually have something cool prepared for you. There are secrets and treasures scattered throughout the world. There are little hints, and there are lots of different personalities and people that can help you during this time. There are little bits and pieces, little shards of your heart, or little question marks answered for quite a lot of us. So in terms of Pisces, you know, being that very exact, very radical sign, during this time, you don't actually want to go into this like over-philosophized, artistic, creative, dark night of the soul, or like this bombardment of energy, a bombardment of joy. So there are like these very big psychic changes that I'm feeling Pisces are going to go through and bring up. You don't want this. Basically what I'm telling you is you can do what you like because you're the elder sign, you know, you're the sign outside of space and time, you're the last sign. And it's very, very hard for you to go through things unless you really know also what you've got and what you want. So these values and quantums and should I or should I not do this or that. So we are going to go through a big reevaluation. The value system is going to have to go down and eventually come up in another way. So this could also mean that the monetary system could easily crack, or other systems in society. And I'm seeing also Pisces not feeling very good about who they are and feeling exceptionally burdened about some things that have happened in their world. So of course there's going to be investigation. In some situations, it's going to be an investigation of past crime that has been done years ago, and nothing is going to be just put off like, oh, just forget it. You know, this is not important right now. So even if something has happened last few years and seems to have been forgotten and forgiven, we do have an investigative nature of Pisces that doesn't want to just leave it as that and wants to know how else things can be done. So there is a question, there is a running around looking for answers. Try not to go into this like dreamscape, like, oh God, please give me the answer. Try not to go into this sort of like martyr, Virgin Mary, Jesus Christ thing, and make it very clear that you are doing something that is very maybe ridiculous or radical, but it is very attractive and very sympathetic to you. So it's like, the more I do this, the more it works. So now we have genius Pisces, also Pisces that can develop an interesting technology during this time and have exceptional innovation. And you could say, this is a small thing, but for me it works, or I'm the only one with a patent or with the design or the copyright to this type of material. So there is something very exciting about it. And yes, you can be the king or the queen of the world, but don't rule it all at once, because Pisces is the secret It's the hidden link. It's the person that you do not expect to do the things that they're going to do during this time. So be very, very kind and make it sure that although you may do as thou wilt, you may create whatever you will and whatever you want, but at the same time be very also kind and very healthy for other people, because this is going to return when Taurus, whilst as Taurus will be the headmaster of Neptune in 2039. So as Neptune goes into Taurus, it's going to be a completely different game, and you think you're going to get away, but please be careful. Even though Aries, Neptune is going to make lots of gaps and lots of holes for Pisces to hide in, and it's going to make a lot of different things possible, and you can be anybody and get away with almost anything, almost any crime by the end of the transit. You have to also be very aware and very kind of concentrated that you don't feel lost eventually, because Taurus is going to bring things up that you didn't think were ever gonna be brought up. So definitely make sure that although it's a masterful time and you're very quick to decide things and you can develop things excessively and do an amazing bunch of tricks during this particular transit, make it very clear that by the end of this transit of Aries Neptune, by 2039, you don't have any regrets. Thank you very much. Enjoy and subscribe to my channel. Look at my Patreon. This stuff is on tap. This is happening all the time. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.